Exchange or New York State inspection. Our travels this week take us deep into leatherstocking country, to the quaint village of Milford. The first settlers arrived around 1770, but few people followed until after the Revolutionary War. Soldiers who toured this area took parcels of land as payment for their service. This growing community offered opportunities to merchants and entrepreneurs. The David Sayre Store and House Museum on North Main Street offers you a glimpse into the daily life of settlers in the early 1800s.
Well, we're standing right now in the kitchen of the David Sayre Museum, and the Sayre Museum is a historic site from the early 1800s, and the Sayre family were one of the first families that came to Milford here and settled the area, and this is a reproduction of their interior of their home. Well, the house has a very interesting history. The Sayre family moved here in between 1800 and 1810, and they raised several generations of families that stayed through here until eventually there's still the Sayre relations are still here, and they gave the house to the Milford Historical Association in the 70s. Starting in about the mid-1980s, we really started looking at the house very carefully and finding that most of it was really very much unchanged. And so we determined at that time to really kind of explore the very early decades of the 1800s. Especially, we're really kind of certainly focusing on the year 1826, which was the Jubilee year for America. So we're really kind of looking at the Sayre family and kind of focusing on what it was like to be a new American. When they moved here, they started a store. It was kind of a general line store that sold manufactured goods, foodstuffs, and alcohol. And also, Sayre himself was a land surveyor. So he was very, very involved in the development of the early farming community here, not only in laying out farms, but also laying out roads for the government of Milford itself. Yes, it is decorated for the holidays. As you can see, we have a really nice fire going on this very cold day. But generally, in the early 1800s, the idea of Christmas as we think of was a little different. Not saying that people didn't get together at a time of year and celebrate the birthday of Jesus as Christians, but also that they really did not have the concept of having a tree and presents and that type of a thing. They maybe got together and had a meal or something on that order with their immediate family and neighbors. The Sayre store actually, which is right behind us, basically would even be open on Christmas Day. So I guess if you were getting presents for your family, you still could be able to get to that store and get those things for them, you know.
During the winter, the Sayre House is open for tours by appointment. Visit cooperstownchamber.org or call 607-286-7038. The Sayre store and the Milford community were connected to the rest of the world through the railroad. Today, the Leatherstocking Railway Historical Society owns and operates the Cooperstown-Charlotte Valley Railroad, a 16-mile short line.
Well, this is the Milford train station for the Cooperstown and Charlotte Valley Railroad, which was built in 1869. It was built as an independent railroad. In 1903, it became part of the Delaware and Hudson Railroad, and then in 1971, it became part of the Delaware-Otsego Corporation system, and they ran tourist trains on here for a couple of years, but then they went strictly into the freight business, and then it sat for about 10-15 years with nothing going on this railroad, and then we purchased it, the Leatherstocking Railway Historical Society, in 1997, and we started running trains in 1999 and been running them ever since. Well, back in the heyday, this was the main source of transportation in and out. This is where news came in and out of the town. The train stations in a rural town like this were basically the hub of everything in the town. If you bought anything, chances are it came in by rail. If you were going on a travel anywhere, chances are you left here by rail. You take a train out of here and you'd head to Oneonta. From Oneonta, you could go to any place like Binghamton, Albany, and from Albany you could go to any place in the country. You could go down to Oneonta and go to Kingston, go down to New York City that way. But this is where anything that came into a village, even news, the newspaper. The neat story I like is our agent's office was pretty much stripped out when we bought the building. But the young man, who's now an older gentleman, who used to be the paper boy, used to come here and hang out with the station agent. So he knew where the safe was, he knew where the telegrapher station was, he knew where the roll-top desk was. And so that was the way it was. It was the hub of an entire community. It was the railroad station.
The Santa Express trains have been so popular that they have added another run this Saturday at 2 o'clock. Call 607-432-2429 or visit lrhs.com.
When I think of the place places I've been and the people that I've met.
Just like in the early days, village life revolves around the general store. The Milford Corner Store, built in the mid-1800s, carries a little of everything. Owner Keith Velasco remembers visiting the store for penny candy as a boy. Traveling through the upper Susquehanna Valley during the late 1800s, visitors would enjoy the view of beautiful hop vines reaching for the sky. Stan Hall, owner of Cooperstown Brewing, remembers his mother telling him stories of his grandfather Eckler, a hop farmer, and how much fun it was when the hop pickers came for the harvest. Stan's grandfather would be pleased to see that he's still growing hops and uses it to brew traditional ale.
Well, we were formed in 1994. And it took a while, as it does in New York State, to get our brewery licensed. And we brewed our first batch of beer in August of '95, and later that month, kegs of beer left the brewery for the first time. Well, my son was a home brewer, so he knew something about the brewing process, but we basically worked with Alan Pugsley, who is a master brewer from England. He now owns Shipyard Brewing Company that's in Maine, and he helped us set up, and we brewed up at his brewery for a couple weeks, and then he sent two of his brewers down here to help us set up, and we brewed down here together. England is where some of the best ales in the world are brewed, and Alan Pugsley was trained in England, and most of our beers are brewed in that very fine English tradition. Well, first of all, it's fresh. It is not preserved with chemicals, and it's not pasteurized. Now, pasteurization takes some of the flavor out of beer, and I don't like chemicals in my beer anyway. Now, craft beer, that's what we like to call it, because it's brewed by a brewer, not a machine. It's brewed with more malt, better hops, and it's brewed by a brewer who takes a very special care of the beer.
Cooperstown Brewing is open every day for tours. Today only, Mohawk Valley Living viewers enjoy free admission to the tour and tasting session. Cooperstown Brewing is located just past the train depot, right on River Street. Jackie's Restaurant is located in a building constructed in 1964 to serve as the community's meat locker. The Chase sisters operate the restaurant, which has become a part of the community. People still talk about the tornado that hit here in 1998, causing tremendous damage. Jackie's Restaurant remained untouched and served work crews late into the night. Ironically, neighbors without power stored their frozen food in Jackie's freezer, just like the meat locker days. The Chase sisters challenge you to find better Eggs Benedict and invite Mohawk Valley Living viewers to buy one, get one half-price Eggs Benedict today. We travel back home through Cooperstown and stop in to see the special holiday displays at the Fenimore Art Museum. The museum is decorated with real evergreen boughs, and the color red is the theme. Handcrafted dollhouses radiating the spirit of the season are featured throughout the museum, amid the holiday display, Red Christmas.
At Christmas time, we're at the Fenimore Art Museum. You can really get in the spirit by seeing some of the historic decorated doll houses, some of our highlights of our collection, like the Crazy Quilt you can see in the background, children's toys from the 19th and early 20th century, and really kind of get in the seasonal mood. People like to peer into them and see into different worlds and imagine themselves in those doll houses and see all the little details that people have put in these doll houses. Things completely personal, like miniature diplomas, wedding certificates, little representations of themselves in there. So there's just kind of endless hours of fun you can have looking into them. The decorations are done by a group of neighboring garden clubs, and they all come together and work for a full day or two putting them together. The theme this year is red, so we have a poinsettia tree, poinsettias all over the place, and really seasonal decorations. So come on down to the Fenimore Art Museum in Cooperstown from 10 to 4 and get in the holiday spirit and enjoy the season.
Visit the Fenimore Art Museum on Route 80 in Cooperstown. Today only, Mohawk Valley Living viewers enjoy buy one, get one free admission to the museum.
It's time for